and welcome to the next edition of the Holland Land Office Museum's Artifact Video Series. My name is Ryan Duffy, and I'm the director of the museum, and this week we're going to talk about one of the most influential people in our area's history, particularly in the 20th century, and maybe one of our most influential political figures, and that is Barber Conable. Now, Barber Conable was born on November 2nd, 1922 in Wyoming, New York, just south of us here in Wyoming County. His father, Barber Sr., was actually a lawyer and a Wyoming County judge for many years, which influenced Barber's upbringing and his career choices. However, it was his mother, Agnes, who was the one who really raised the family and instilled a lot of the interests in Barber that he would carry on through his life. In particular, interest in nature and Native American artifacts, which was something that he collected for a very long time and collected a wide variety of items from Native American cultures. Barber went on to graduate from Cornell University in 1942, and soon after he enlisted in the Marines to fight during World War II, and actually saw combat during the Battle of Iwo Jima, and was stationed overseas for quite some time during the war. And it was during this time that he actually learned how to speak Japanese. After the war, he actually returned to Cornell, and in 1948 actually graduated with a law degree, which would be his profession in his adult life. However, when the Korean conflict erupted soon after, Barber re-enlisted in the Marines and actually fought during the Korean War as well. In 1952, he married another Cornell graduate, Charlotte Williams, and they actually lived in Buffalo for a short stint where Barber was practicing law. Shortly after, he actually moved to Batavia and opened up his own practice with his father, and that would be his home office for quite some time. And his family would actually move to Alexandria, New York, just south of Batavia. Barber soon became very active in the local political climate and actually was a major player on the local Republican committees. And in 1962, he ran and was elected to the New York State Senate. And 2 years later, he made another jump and was actually elected to the U.S. House of Representatives. And it would be here that he would become very well known. And he would serve 20 years in the House and would rise through the political party and hold some rather high-ranking positions. Barber was a well-respected member of Congress and was known on both sides of the aisle for his honesty and integrity, and was rather famous for not accepting any campaign donations over $50, and actually would save the checks. And we actually have a display of those checks here. Conable became one of the leading voices in the legislation of taxes, and he was sort of the mind behind many of the major tax bills that came out in the 1970s. In 1974, he was instrumental in a regulation of trade, and in 1977, dealing with changes in Social Security. And he was also the one responsible for bringing forth the bill that made 401ks possible. And one of his other major acts that he was able to push through was the Local Fiscal Assistance Act of 1972, which was instrumental in allowing smaller government entities and local governments to get a bigger piece of the pie for their funding. And this actually was a campaign that he had to do for 2 years in order to get enough support to get it through Congress and eventually pass. Now, Conable was a fixture on the Ways and Means Committee and would rise to chair positions on that committee, as well as in the Joint Economic Budget and Ethics Committees as well. So he had his hand in many different aspects of the House's proceedings. Now, the district that Conable represented was a rather diverse district, actually. It included the western part of Rochester as well as Monroe County, and then made its way down in Genesee, Wyoming, and Livingston counties as well. So he represented both urban and rural populations and many different diverse groups within that, which made his job maybe easier or more difficult on trying to represent his constituents. But he was well respected by nearly every one of his constituents and did his very best to represent their wants and needs to the best of his ability. Now, Conable was very shaken after Nixon's resignation after the Watergate scandal, as he was a close ally of Nixon's, but due to the scandal, he split away from Nixon completely and he was one that called the White House tapes the smoking gun. Shook Conable to his core in terms of his political allegiances, and he never forgave Nixon for abusing his power, and would never write him another letter or even attend the late president's funeral in 1994. Barber Conable would be a member of the House of Representatives till his retirement in 1985. However, his retirement would not last long, as the following year he was tabbed by President Ronald Reagan to be the head of the World Bank. It was often a position held by someone from the United States. Barber was a very good fit to head the World Bank, as his career in Congress had made him many allies, which allowed him to push through legislation much easier and to convince a very stubborn Congress in their need to support the World Bank and its ventures. And during his tenure, he was the president of the World Bank for 5 years. The bank supported many worthy humanitarian projects, and he worked to improve the environment and especially to promote women's rights across the world. Even though he spent much of his time in Washington during his political career, he never forgot his roots here in Genesee County and in Western New York. And he and his family, particularly his wife Charlotte, were heavily involved in many different aspects of local life here in Genesee County. In fact, he was a major benefactor of the museum here for many years, and actually gave a lot of pieces that are in our collection or supported the museum in other ways. He also served as a regent for the Smithsonian at the same time, so you could tell his love for history was very prominent and always at the forefront of his mind, as he tried to support local and national history as much as he could. And in fact, every 4th of July for many years, he would actually read the Declaration of Independence at Genesee Country Village over in Mumford. He also served on the Board of Trustees at the Genesee Country Village as well. His wife was also a major supporter of local history, as she was influential in starting the National Women's Hall of Fame, and was the head of many of their activities there. Now, Barber Conable passed away on November 30th, 2003, while he was staying in Florida. And it was a very sad day for the local community, as he was severely missed. We'd like to continue on his legacy here, as we have many things of his on display that have been donated from he and the family over the years, including many pictures of him with presidents and other influential political figures from the United States as well as other countries, as well as some campaign items and other things as well from his political career. So, if you remember Barber Conable, it's definitely worth coming down to check it out. But if you don't, you can come and learn about one of the men who helped push our area forward and helped represent us in national politics. Well, I hope you enjoyed this edition of our Artifact video series. And in case you've missed any of our previous videos, you can go check them out on our YouTube channel, Holland Office Museum. And be sure to check us out in the future, as we're going to keep releasing these videos every week to let everybody know exactly what's going on here at the Holland Office Museum, all the wonderful things from local history that we have to show you.